In terms of your everyday energy, can you see where you might start having problems and where your energy might get low? First of all, you might not be breathing very well. We'll talk about why that can happen in a minute. Or the quality of air you're breathing might be pretty bad. You know, you might live in a city or you might be in a stuffy room, and that ends up being very, very low in energy. Or the kind of food you're eating might be very low in energy. Or your ability to digest might be very, very hindered. Any of those four basic things, let's write those down as well. So, yeah, potential problems. We've got like a quadrant thing. So we've got bad air, bad breathing, bad food, or bad nutrients, bad digestion. Now, particularly if you have all these problems, you know, if you are spending most of the time indoors in a stuffy environment, if your breathing is not very good, if you feel that your lungs are tight and constricted a lot of the time, if you're taking in less than optimal foods, and I'm sure most of us already know what that is to some degree, right? And if your digestion is compromised and it's not working very well, is it a surprise that you become low in energy? Just doing your simple everyday energy, right? So, these are like the four things that we really want to resolve. So, in terms of nutrients, you know, I'm not 100% advocate of you must have raw food, but like we said, they do just have more energy naturally contained in them. However, raw foods can sometimes be harder to digest. So then we go to, if your digestion is really bad, actually you just need to eat something that's kind of soft and mushy and easy, like soups or smoothies or anything which your body can actually digest quite easily. Bad quality air, like I said, either the environment or just like no windows open, like we've got right now, perfect. Brilliant example. Or bad breathing, which we're going to have a little look at. So, we'll go to how to in a minute, but this is like one area. So, anyone want to put their hands up if this seems unclear to them so far? Yes?
The 75% and the 25%, are those fixed? Does that never change?
No, I would say if you're optimal, then that's what it's going to be. Actually, normally what happens is this is bad and this has to take up the slack. So normally breathing is appalling because of stress and then and because of just environment, and then we feel like we have to get more and more from food, and that's where compulsive eating, food addictions, craving sugary foods, and then also craving stimulant drugs, which we'll get onto next, comes in because this isn't being satisfied, so we're getting less than 75%. Also of interest is that around 70% of, no not 70%, 92% of your body's excretion, 92% of excretion happens through this organ system. The lungs is 70%, skin is 20%, and the large intestine is 2%. So if you think about the amount of waste that ends up in your toilet, multiply that by 35 times, and that's the amount of waste that you should be excreting in an average day just by breathing well. So if you're in a particularly stuffy room, it is very accurate to say that you are literally drowning in your own waste, and in fact in other people's as well. Good, right? You have to suffer it. This is going to be like a...
We've tried it earlier and there's something wrong with the window, so we can open the door.
Excellent, we want to take action straight away. But notice, you know, I saw a client yesterday, they were feeling a bit low in energy and just took them outside instantly. It's like it's a bonus. Awesome, thank you. So, if you're not excreting toxicity properly, of course, that's yet another thing which causes you to be low in energy, but we'll look at that in a bit. We'll start off with our basic energies. So that's everyday energy. Any other questions? No? Excellent.
Oh, does that include the adrenals in that?
No.
We could
We're doing that now. So, number 2 energy. Let's say with all those reasons for energy going wrong, you don't get enough energy that you need in order to take the kids to school and work and provide for yourself and pay the bills or whatever. What do, right? You dip into your reserves. So this is a little bit like your savings, you know? So this should be like, if you look at the money metaphor, this is like your income, right? This is like income. This is what you should have coming in every week, every day, every moment as a result of just living. This is your savings. And the Taoists called this Jing, or sometimes also original Qi. Reserve energy. I also quite like to call this adaptive energy. Where are we going to put that? Adaptation. Charles Darwin said that the species that survives and proliferates is not the species that is the most strong, the most clever, the fastest, the smartest, nothing like that. It's the one that adapts better. Okay? So just for your survival, the survival of your children, your ancestors, the line continuing, adaptation is the most important thing of all. And this is kind of tied up with your DNA in some mysterious way that hasn't been 100% understood yet, but which relates to stem cells. So this relates to your DNA. So when you're, let's not talk about what happens if your mind's low. Okay, let's attempt to understand it first. So, your reserve energy. Where does your reserve energy reside? We talked about before, we talked about the lung organ system, right? And the spleen organ system. So what about your reserve energy? Anyone familiar with this one?
Kidneys.
Kidneys, awesome. Absolutely right. This is called the kidney organ system. So the kidneys actually relate to a lot. What the Taoists call the kidneys comprises most of what we consider is a human being. So the kidneys relate to the adrenals. And that relates to what we call stress. So with the lack, we've got stress. The kidneys relate to alkalinity and hydration. So a lack leads to dehydration and acidity. Who's heard about the dangers of acidity? Anyone? Yeah? About half you? Okay, I'll go along. Kidneys, adrenals, the whole reproductive system, including all the hormones. And that goes wrong, lack of drive, and infertility, probably the top ones. The whole central nervous system, including most of the brain. So when that's depleted, we lack focus, memory, clarity. They all become impaired. And all sorts of other, brain functioning will tend to suffer. Central nervous system. Then we've got the bones, especially bone marrow. And that really relates to your body's ability to heal. A lot of your ability to regenerate yourself is based on the health of your bone marrow. If your bone marrow is weak, you can end up